Good day and welcome back to another Dbz Dokkan video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the Android 17 and 18 that have been announced for Dbz Dokkan Global and take a look at their card and basically just how good they're going to be. Now obviously this is a period of time where JP is having their anniversary and the Global, for the final time at least, will be celebrating something a bit different. Of course, we will be getting a global first, according to the JP letter announcement, so we'll have to see what happens there. Now, in terms of lead, their tournament participants or siblings bond category lead of 170%, with an additional 30% for those who belong to Universe 7 or joined forces. Tournament participants is an interesting category, basically being World Tournament and the Tournament Power and the Cell Games, I believe. So it's a very interesting kind of combo of categories. They have Android Assault, Twin Terrors, Infinite Energy, Shocking Speed, Tournament Power, the Innocence, and Fierce Battle. So they have basically a generic 17-18 link set alongside having the Tournament of Power, which is an interesting link, of course, to help them on their own team. Now they activate the entrance animation only once and randomly change key series of a certain type into excluded to rainbow key series for 4 turns from the character's entry point when there's another Reps of Universe 7 category ally on the team. Then they have attack of 170% and defense of 180%. They get an additional attack and defense of 50% and reduce damage received by 35% when performing a super attack, which is pretty good. They get an additional attack of 50% with a high chance of crit with 7 or more key spheres obtained. They give tournament participants category allies key +2 and attack and defense of 35%, and they give an additional key +1 attack and defense of 17 and 18% respectively with 7 or more key spheres obtained. They also get an additional attack of 59% when performing a super attack, and they foresee enemy super attack within the same turn if there is an ally whose name includes a Goku attacking in the same turn, which is pretty interesting that they are so heavily reliant on having a Goku in their turn, which is a little bit weird, but it's mainly offensively, but it does lock their foresee enemy super attack ability, which is kind of lame. So on the base of things, pretty decent. Orb changing for the first 4 turns is nice. Would be nice if it was a bit longer. Their baseline passive is pretty good. 170-180% will make their start turn defense okay, but mainly they're going to be an after super solid unit. That attack and defense of 50%, that damage reduction is all going to be very important. The orb with 7 or more isn't too bad, also considering that it locks behind their crit chance, which is okay. Then you have the tournament participants category support, which is good, and that additional, which is also locked behind 7 or more. So there's definitely obviously an incentive to keep giving them orbs, and obviously to ensure that they can get orbs, because it'll boost the rest of the rotation as well. Very akin to the Kid Goku, the physical Kid Goku. In fact, they remind me a little bit of physical Kid Goku. A little bit different obviously in design, but very similar in that they are a good unit that's also a very capable support for their category. Then of course they have that reliance on Goku. That's probably the only downside, I think, because although it is easy to have a Goku technically in their rotation, it's a lot not great when you look at their link set. Next, we obviously look at their active skill, which obviously can be activated when HP is 78% or less, starting from the 5th turn from the start of battle up to 8 times. Now this is the really interesting thing. So basically, essentially, once their rainbow orb changing disappears, they can now create INT orbs. So it's an incentive or an ability to obviously secure them having a really solid or relatively reliable source of orbs, which helps them out a lot. So it is a good active skill to have, and it does pair well with their passive. Then obviously there are tournament participants, siblings bond, Reps of Universe 7, joint forces, Universal Survival Saga Androids, where they rival superheroes. I think obviously tournament participants, Reps of Universe 7, USS are probably going to be their #1 categories for the most part. Then they greatly raise attack and defense 1 turn on their normal attack, and then they also have a additional unit super attack, which is activated when there's a Goku ally in the turn, which will massively raise their attack and defense 1 turn, whilst also raising allies' attack and defense for 2 turns, which is really good. So there is an incentive again to have a Goku. The biggest downside to having a Goku is the link set. Once you can get past the link set, then generally speaking having a Goku in rotation is way more ideal than not having a Goku in rotation. We obviously will have to see how it pans out, but yeah, in theory they should be really good with a Goku in rotation. There is also the general banner unit, the Zirloin and Rabanra and Zarbuto, Rabanra, the Zirloin and Rabanra and Zarbuto unit. I think I've butchered all of those. Very interesting kind of sub-banner unit. Power of Wishes category 130%. Signature pose, tournament power, metamorphosis, more than meets the eye, solid support, infighter, and fierce battle. Definitely a buff for Ribrianne and her kind of mix match of units. So Ribrianne, Kokunsa, all those types of units definitely links very well with them, and obviously is prepping up for the LR that'll come up later. Attack and defense of 50% per Power of Wishes or tournament of participants category ally on the team, depending on which category has more characters. So obviously incentive to run them on either a Power of Wishes or tournament participants team. An additional 100% attack and defense and launches an additional attack. There's a high chance of going to be a super attack when performing a super attack if there is another Power of Wishes category ally on the team. So again, incentive to run them with like a Ribrianne or something. Disables the attacked enemy's action once within the turn, once only, starting from the 4th turn from the start of battle, and attacks are effective against all types if there is another tournament participants category ally in the same turn. A very simple unit, like very simple unit, built-in additionals and pretty high baseline passive stats. That's really honestly about it. Link set definitely leans towards linking up with a Ribrianne. Obviously that's kind of the main goal here. Metamorphosis, more than meets the eye, tournament of power, all links that she definitely has. So yeah, definitely designed to link there, of course. And then on the super attack effect, greatly raises attack for 1 turn with a high chance of stunning. So a decent unit. There's nothing special here. We're talking literally raw stats and built-in additionals. Interrupt is nice, I guess, and the attacks effective against all types are pretty good. Let's take a look at the animations, and yeah, but I think overall they're well constructed units. I don't know if they're enough to save USS. They definitely help USS a lot. Between this, Goku, maybe MVP 17, I think you can build a pretty reliable USS team, but I do think it probably needs a little bit more, which hopefully will come for Worldwide Celebration. But yeah, that's it. So let's take a look at overall. The animations are decent. For the general banner unit, I think it's pretty cool. Obviously nothing spectacular, it's just a general banner unit, but because the source reference is pretty decent, it's a fun little super attack without being necessarily anything crazy. The effects on the hearts are pretty cool, and overall the sound design is pretty decent. When we come to Android 17 and 18, voice acting, the voice lines are pretty good, obviously. The animation is relatively crisp, I would say. Obviously referencing that super style, so you've got obviously a bit of a cleaner cut than maybe Dbz or DB, and you've obviously got that kind of highlighted color scheme. But yeah, I would say overall it's decent. The axle blade attack or the axle attack is decent again. Nothing spectacular here. Good reference to the material, some nice impact sound effects, and just in general a decent super attack. I'd say the active skill is something that's obviously short and sweet, but kind of needs to be because you can activate it multiple times. So basically, if you're someone who enjoys watching animations, I think they planned on keeping it kind of relatively short and sweet, although it is well done, and the voice lines are pretty cool with the referencing and everything that does occur. Beyond that, honestly speaking, that is pretty much it. There's really honestly not much else. The unit super attack with Goku looks good, if not not insane, so to say, so that's pretty dope.